Men. What was something you mistakenly heard on a call that would have ruined your life? I'd been thinking about it for weeks. The proposal. The ring sat in the back of my sock drawer, nestled in a small velvet box I'd opened and closed 100 times. It wasn't flashy, she wasn't into flashy, but it was elegant. A single, oval-cut diamond on a slim gold band. Simple, timeless, just like I thought we were. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was sitting in my small home office. Really just a corner of the bedroom with a desk, and my laptop finishing off some spreadsheet. Revisions for the finance department. My girlfriend, Leah, was on a Zoom call with her marketing team in the living room. Her camera off, but her microphone apparently on. I hadn't noticed until I heard her voice. God, I hope he doesn't propose. I paused mid-keystroke. At first, I thought she might be talking about someone else. Some client maybe? A co-worker's boyfriend. Anyone but me. Seriously, she continued, her voice a soft whisper but still crystal clear. How do you politely reject a man who pays your rent? The room got cold, though the window was shut. Her co-worker Sandra, I think, chuckled. Just marry him and divorce later. That's what prenups are for. Laughter followed. Leah's laugh too. Soft, almost embarrassed, but not enough. Not nearly enough. I didn't close the spreadsheet. I didn't even move. I just stared at the screen. My heart thudding so loud I was sure she'd hear it from the other room. My hand moved on its own. I clicked the trackpad. Closed her Zoom window on my monitor. I'd had it open on the side by accident when helping her troubleshoot the audio earlier, and sat back in my chair, the silence stretching longer than I could breathe. She had no idea. No idea that I heard her. No idea that I'd been planning to take her to that little Italian restaurant on Saturday night. The one with the rooftop patio and the fairy lights, strung between olive trees. No idea that I had paid her rent not out of pity or control, but because she was struggling and I believed in partnership, in building something real together. No idea that in the next 15 minutes I'd start pulling it all down. I didn't say anything that night. I watched her smile at me like nothing had changed, curl up beside me on the couch, talk about work and Netflix and how she missed her old dog. I watched her eat the dinner I made, talk about wanting to take a trip to the coast, ask if we could maybe talk about getting a new car, and I listened, really listened, to her tone, her words, what she didn't say. There was no guilt, no hesitance, no sense of someone who had even an ounce of remorse. So I waited until she fell asleep, face half buried in the pillow. One hand curled around her phone and I got up, walked to my desk, opened my bank account, the shared card she used for groceries, her subscription apps, gas, and whatever else she quietly justified as essentials. I wouldn't notice. Gone, disconnected, closed. I canceled the auto pay on her rent, took my name off the utilities, logged out of the Amazon account, and then I packed her things. Not everything, just the items I'd bought, the stuff I paid for under the belief that we were something real. The laptop she used for work, mine. The headphones she always borrowed, mine. The bag I gave her for her birthday, gone. I lined everything up in the hallway, neat and silent. By the time I got back into bed, it was 4 a.m. and I hadn't spoken a word. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was done. The morning light spilled across the floor like it had every other day. She groaned, stretching, reaching for her phone to check the time, and that's when it began. The first missed call. Her card declined. Then the next. Another call. I pretended to still be asleep. Hey, she whispered, tapping my arm. Did something happen with the bank? My card isn't working. I think there's a glitch. I didn't answer. I just rolled over, pulled the blanket tighter, and let her deal with it. By 10 a.m., she had 47 missed calls. From the leasing office, to from her boss. The rest from customer service numbers and the one friend who actually knew how to handle money. She was pacing the apartment in a panic. Phone pressed to her ear, hair a mess, voice tense. This doesn't make any sense. My account says pending authorization, but it's linked to his card. What the hell? I stood up then, calm, quiet. Good morning, I said. She spun around. Did you cancel the card? I mean, why? I held up my hand. I heard your Zoom call. Her face paled. What? Yesterday, I said. You forgot to mute your mic. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I didn't mean that. It was just a joke. I was just venting. Sandra, she was. Don't, I said, my voice sharper than it had been in years. Don't insult us both. Silence stretched between us like a wound. I was going to propose to you this weekend, I added. I bought the ring a month ago. You want to know how to politely reject a man who pays your rent? She swallowed hard. You just did? I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and headed for the door. Where are you going? She asked, voice trembling now. We need to talk about this. You can't just. I'm talking, I said. You're just not listening. And with that, I left. Behind me, the weight of 4 years dropped from my shoulders like a stone. The drive was quiet. I didn't blast music like I usually did. No podcasts, no distractions. Just the steady hum of the engine and the sound of my thoughts catching up to me. It's strange, the things you start to notice once the curtain falls. Little details, gestures, words she'd said months ago that you laughed off. Red flags you chose to repaint white, like how Leah never once asked me how work was unless I came home with a bonus. Or how she always said she wanted a future together, but never included me in the picture when she talked about it. I had just convinced myself that this was what love looked like when someone was tired, when life was hard, that maybe she just had a funny way of showing gratitude. Turns out, she didn't have a funny way of showing it. She had no way at all. I pulled into the parking lot of a quiet diner off the main road, a place I used to go before Leah moved in, back when life was simple and silence was peaceful, not punishing. I ordered coffee and eggs, sat at the booth by the window, and just breathed. My phone buzzed, once, twice, then again. I didn't need to check the screen. I already knew. She'd called 6 times since I left the apartment, texted at least a dozen. Leah, please just talk to me. Leah, you're blowing this out of proportion. It was a joke. Leah, I didn't mean it like that. Come home, let's talk. Leah, you're being so dramatic right now. This is just a misunderstanding, and the one that finally made me block her. Leah, after all I've done for you, this is how you treat me. That was when I laughed, out loud. The waitress actually turned her head, after all she had done for me. The girl who hadn't worked in 2 months, who used my car more than I did, who cried about bills and pretended to forget about the savings account I helped her build, who vented about feeling trapped to her co-workers because she didn't want to marry the help. Yeah, I blocked her number and finished my coffee. Back at the apartment later that afternoon, she was gone. Her things were still there, most of them, but she wasn't. The door was unlocked. The air smelled like cheap perfume and panic. She must have gone to a friend's place. Maybe Sandra's, maybe somewhere to regroup and rethink her story. I didn't care. What I did care about was my peace, and I was going to get it back. I started with the Wi-Fi. Password changed. Then the streaming accounts. She'd already tried logging in from a new device. I could see the alerts. Removed access. Logged her out of every app. Then her email, really. The one she'd created using my address and card for online orders. That went next. Deleted. Gone. Piece by piece, I erased myself from her world. It felt surgical, clinical, like cutting out rot before it spreads. By Thursday, word had spread. Leah's friends started texting me from unknown numbers. Some played nice, some didn't. You didn't have to humiliate her. Wow. Way to ghost a girl who needed help. She loved you. You know, she was just scared. I didn't answer any of them. One of them sent a screenshot Leah's private Instagram story. A close-up of her face, red eyes, messy hair, a fake cry with a caption, "He turned on me like I was nothing. After everything I did for him." She was spinning the story already, crafting her new role as victim. But I didn't need to play the villain to feel at peace. I just needed to let the truth speak for itself. Friday morning, I walked into my office and sat down with HR. "I'd like to request a PTO week," I said. My manager, David, looked surprised. "Everything okay?" I smiled. "Everything's about to be." Saturday came faster than expected. It would have been the day. The day I proposed. The ring still sat in its box. I didn't want to return it, not yet. There was something final about handing it back, like it had never meant anything. Instead, I drove out to the coast. No plans, no destination, just wind and waves. I watched the sun dip below the horizon and let myself feel it. The anger, the ache, the stupid, quiet hope that maybe she'd run up to me and say she made a mistake. But she didn't. And for the first time since Tuesday, I was glad. She wasn't the person I thought she was. And I deserved better. On Sunday, I came home to find 3 missed calls from her mom. That was new. Voicemail 1. "Hi, I'm not sure what happened between you and Leah, but she's very upset and, look, I know she isn't perfect, but maybe you can talk this through." Voicemail 2. She says you kicked her out? That you shut off everything. She's crashing on a friend's couch. Voicemail 3. "This just isn't like you. I really thought you loved her." I deleted all 3, because I did love her. But love without respect is just captivity dressed in romance. Monday morning, I called the leasing office. "I'll be renewing the lease," I said. "But she won't be staying here anymore." The woman on the other end paused. "Oh, is there a formal eviction?" "No," I said. "She doesn't live here anymore. She just hasn't accepted it yet." There was a long silence. "Understood. We'll update the file." The last time I saw Leah was the following Thursday. She came to the apartment when she knew I'd be home. I opened the door to find her standing there with puffy eyes and a suitcase she hadn't bothered to zip. "I just want to talk," she said, voice low. I stepped aside but didn't invite her in. She stood in the doorway like it was a checkpoint. "I made a mistake," she said. "I didn't mean it. I was just trying to be funny. Everyone says dumb things in front of co-workers. But you meant it," I said. "Didn't you?" She didn't answer. "You used me," I continued, "and I let you. That's on me. But pretending you cared while laughing about rejecting me, that's where I draw the line." "I did care about you," she said, finally stepping inside. "I still do." I looked at her for a long moment. "You don't care about me," I said. "You care that the money's gone." Her eyes widened like I'd slapped her. "That's not fair." "It's the only fair thing I've said." She stood there for another minute, like she might try again, but she didn't. She picked up the box of her stuff I'd left by the door and left, without saying another word. No terrors. No drama, just the click of the door closing behind her, and finally peace. 3 weeks passed. It was strange how quiet life became without Leah. Not lonely, just quiet. The sort of silence that doesn't scream anymore. It hums, it heals. I got back into old routines. The gym in the mornings, cooking real meals instead of takeout, visiting my sister on Sundays, fixing the shelf in the hallway that Leah always said we'd get around to. I slept better. My back didn't ache when I woke up. I actually looked forward to going home. No more walking on eggshells, because she'd had a bad day or needed space. From conversations that made her uncomfortable. It was like coming up for air after holding your breath so long you forgot you needed to. But she wasn't done with me. Not even close. The first message came from Brian, a mutual friend we hadn't seen since the early days of our relationship. He DM'd me on Instagram. "Hey, man, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. Leah's been talking. Like, a lot." I didn't respond. He followed up. "She's been telling people you emotionally manipulated her, that you tricked her into moving in, controlled her money, and made her feel worthless. I know it's BS, but I figured you should know." My hands tensed around the phone. I should have expected this. People like Leah never walk away quietly. They rewrite the ending so they don't look like the villain. And because I stayed silent, her story was the loudest. The rumors spread faster than I expected. One of my co-workers, Mel, cornered me near the break room. "So, I ran into someone who knows Leah," she said, her voice hesitant. "She said some stuff about you. I didn't believe it, but let me guess," I interrupted, "that I isolated her, used money to control her, that she was trapped." Mel looked startled. "Yeah. Exactly that. She's rewriting history," I said, "and the truth isn't exciting enough to go viral." Mel nodded slowly. "I figured. Just wanted you to know she's out there making noise." "Thanks," I said, offering her a tired smile. But that night, I didn't sleep. Because even though I knew the truth, there was something terrifying about how easily people believed a lie, especially one told with pretty eyes and the right amount of trembling. By week 5, she was in full PR mode. She started posting cryptic quotes on her story. "Sometimes love is just a pretty prison. Never let anyone make you feel small in your own home. Healing looks good on me." Her followers, many of them mutuals. We once laughed with, sent her heart emojis and comments full of sympathy. One even messaged me, "Can't believe you treated her like that. You always seemed like a good guy." I didn't reply. What was the point? You can't reason with someone committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. Not just my reputation, but myself. I started therapy. That surprised a lot of people. I wasn't the type. At least, not before. But sitting in that room, across from someone who didn't know Leah, didn't know me, just listened without judgment, it felt like opening a window in a suffocating room. "I feel stupid," I admitted in our second session, "for not seeing it sooner, for giving so much and asking so little." "You're not stupid," my therapist said. "You were hopeful. There's a difference." And maybe for the first time, I believed it. Week 7 brought the party. Brian invited me to his birthday low-key backyard thing with old college friends. Beers, music, laughter. I almost said no, but something in me wanted to show up, not to prove anything, just to exist again, to reclaim the space she tried to make me ashamed of. So I went, and that's where I met Jade. She was standing by the grill, arguing with Brian about the best horror movie of all time. "It's Hereditary, and if you disagree, you just don't like good cinema," she said, flipping a veggie burger with authority. I laughed before I could stop myself. She turned, eyes narrowing. "Oh. We have a dissenter." "I mean," I shrug, "the thing walked so Hereditary could run." Her lips curled into a smirk. "Fair, but wrong." We talked for hours. Not about Leah, not about heartbreak. Just movies, music, dumb jokes, and weird jobs we'd had in college. She didn't ask what happened to me, and I didn't offer. And that was the best part. She saw me, not the version I was forced to defend, but the version I hadn't been in months. Free, light, laughing. Later that night, as I got in my car, I found a note slipped under the windshield. No name. Just Leah's handwriting. "You're so easy to replace. Remember that." I stared at it for a long time. Then I crumpled it up and drove home, windows down. The cool wind brushing away the last traces of her poison. The next hit came on a Wednesday afternoon. I was working through spreadsheets when my phone blew up. Texts, Instagram notifications, even an email from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. Leah had posted a video. A long, carefully edited clip, complete with sad background music, dim lighting, and tissues in her lap. She called it "How I Survived a One-Sided Relationship." It wasn't just a video. It was a narrative. She spoke softly, with practiced pauses and trembling lips. "When I met him, I thought I'd found safety. What I didn't realize was that safety can feel like a cage. When someone's love comes with conditions." He never raised his voice, but silence was a weapon too. "He paid my rent, yes, but only so he could remind me I owed him." I watched, jaw clenched, as she painted herself into a victim and me into the shadowy figure behind her, unraveling. And then she said it. I never cheated. I never lied. I was just trying to survive in a home where I didn't feel like a person anymore. Where I felt bought. I didn't respond. Not online. Not in private. I let the comments roll in. Some believed her. Others defended me. But none of it mattered. Because I knew the truth. And because of something my therapist said just the day before. You're not responsible for the version of you people create to justify their own behavior. But the real punch came 2 days later. Jade texted me, "Are you okay?" I replied, confused. "Yeah." "Why?" She sent me a screenshot. It was from a TikTok Leah had posted that morning. It was a photo of me blurry, zoomed in, clearly taken without my knowledge. Captioned, "Don't be fooled. Sometimes the nice guys do the most damage." Her followers were in the comments. Wow. I knew something was off about his vibe. She's so brave for speaking out? This is why women don't feel safe even when a man is kind. And in the middle of it all was my face. Out of context, weaponized. I called my lawyer that afternoon. I didn't want revenge. I wanted boundaries. We sent a cease and desist letter. It was professional, unemotional, firm. Her post came down within hours. But the damage was done. The people who wanted to believe I was a monster already had. The others were too exhausted by drama to care. Still, I felt lighter, because I wasn't hiding anymore. Later that week, Jade and I went to an art exhibit. She didn't treat me like a project or a broken man who needed saving. She made jokes, rolled her eyes at overpriced abstract paintings, challenged me to guess which ones were hung upside down on purpose. When we left, she said casually, "You don't have to talk about her. I just like your company." And that was the moment I realized something huge. I had been starving for kindness. Not the performative kind. Not the transactional, I dash love dash you dash if dash you dash make dash my dash life dash easier kind. Real, human, awkward, unfiltered kindness. Then came the invitation. An old college friend, Becca, was getting married. She messaged me personally. "Hey, I know things have been weird with mutuals lately, but I want you there. I remember who you are." I thanked her and said I'd think about it. And that's when Jade looked at me and said, "You should go. Show up for you, not to prove a point." So I did. The wedding was beautiful. Warm lights, open bar, familiar faces that hadn't seen me since before. Leah twisted my name into a cautionary tale. Some were cold, most were cordial, but one moment changed everything. I was grabbing a drink when I heard someone behind me say, "I'm surprised he showed his face." I turned. It was Kara, one of Leah's closest friends, and I smiled. "Why wouldn't I?" I asked. She blinked. "After what you did." "What did I do?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I stepped closer, calm but clear. "If you're going to accuse someone of something in public, at least have the courage to back it up. You've heard one version. I lived the real one." And then I walked away. That night, I danced for the first time in years. Not well, but joyfully. Jade joined me, laughing, tugging my hand when I got too stiff. "Relax, spreadsheet boy." I grinned. "I'm trying." "You're doing great." For the first time, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I wasn't waiting for Leah to text, to post, to spin something new. I was done living in her story. It was a Thursday afternoon when Leah called. Not texted, not emailed. Called. The first time in over a month. I stared at the screen for a full minute, heart calm, breath steady. Then I hit decline. She called again, then again. By the fourth attempt, I answered not because I wanted to talk, but because I knew avoiding her would only feed whatever performance she was preparing next. "Hey," she said. Her voice was small, shaky. "Did something happen?" I asked plainly. There was a pause. I just wanted to talk. "Talk," I said, calmly. "Or explain away the fact that you tried to ruin my name because I stopped funding your lifestyle." "That's not." She inhaled sharply. "That's not what happened." "You sure?" I asked, leaning against the counter. "Because the TikTok said otherwise." Silence. "I lost my job," she said after a while. HR found the video. They said it violated workplace policies. "That's unfortunate," I said evenly. "Especially since I remember your co-worker laughing with you on that Zoom, the same call where you said you hoped I wouldn't propose. You were never supposed to hear that," she muttered. But I did. I let the silence settle. Let her sit in the reality. Because in that moment, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. "You embarrassed me," she finally whispered. "All those calls, canceling the card. It was humiliating." "I was humiliated," I said. "I loved you. I supported you. And you were planning how to reject me while laughing about it with someone else. The only thing I regret," I paused, voice steady, "is not walking away sooner." She cried. I could hear it, but I didn't flinch. I'd done that before. Gotten pulled back in by tears that didn't come with change. "You made me feel like I was just some burden," she said, choking on the words. "Like you were doing me a favor being with me." "I never made you feel like that," I said. "You decided to feel that way when you realized. I expected accountability with affection. You could have told me the truth. You could have said you didn't love me anymore. Instead, you mocked me." Another pause. "I miss you," she said quietly. And that's when I knew she didn't get it. She missed comfort, security. The version of me she could use without question. Not me. "I'm not coming back," I said. "You don't have to say it like that." "No, I do. Because you still think this is about a bad moment. It's not. It's about character." She was quiet for so long, I thought she'd hung up. But finally she asked, "Are you with her? The girl from the wedding?" I smiled. Why does that matter? She sniffled. Because I wanted to believe you wouldn't replace me so easily. You were replaced the moment you chose to laugh at my love. And I hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of guilt, but because I'd finally said it. All of it. Every time I'd stayed silent to keep the peace. Every time I'd convinced myself it wasn't that bad. Every time I'd thought loving someone meant tolerating their worst repeatedly. It ended now. The next morning, I posted a photo. It was me, standing in front of the coffee shop where Jade and I had our first real conversation. No caption. No drama. Just peace. And for the first time in weeks, the messages weren't about Leah. They were from friends, old classmates, even an ex-co-worker. Proud of you. Man, that's the look of someone who got their power back. Glad you didn't let her break you. I didn't respond to most, but I felt each one. Not because I needed validation, but because my story was finally mine again. 6 months. That's how long it's been since. I closed my laptop and walked out of the version of my life where I was someone's backup plan. The first few weeks were loud lawyers, social media chaos, conversations I never thought I'd need to have. But after that, it got quiet. And in that quiet, I found clarity. I moved apartments. A smaller place, more personal. No luxury I was funding for someone else. Just sunlight in the mornings, my favorite records. A balcony I could sit on with coffee and breathe. No more walking on eggshells. No more budgeting for someone else's dreams while mine sat on the shelf. I even picked up old hobbies again: photography, hiking, cooking with actual interest instead of obligation. Turns out, I'm not bad at living alone. I'm actually pretty great at it. Jade stuck around, not because she had to. Not because she saw me as broken and needed fixing, but because we made each other laugh. Because conversation with her felt like being barefoot on a warm floor, steady, quiet, natural. She never asked for the whole story. She never brought up Leah unless I did. She gave me room to breathe, and I gave her my time without needing to prove anything. One day, while we were walking through the local bookstore, she paused at the poetry section. "You ever write?" she asked. I shook my head. "Just receipts." She smiled, handed me a journal. "Start." So I did. Some of it was clumsy. Some lines were angry. Some pages were just lists of things I never want to tolerate again. Things like laughter at my expense behind closed doors, love that comes with hidden debts, people who see kindness as a currency, things I want more of, laughter that includes me, not at me, love that doesn't ask me to shrink, people who say what they mean and mean what they say. I heard from Leah once more. A handwritten letter. No return address. Just her cursive in black ink, folded neatly. She said she'd started therapy. That she realized how much she'd used people as lifeboats instead of learning how to swim. She apologized not just for the videos, the comments, the way she'd framed me, but for the way she'd turned love into a business arrangement. She ended it with, "I know I can't undo what I said, but I hope you find someone who values what I mistook for weakness." I didn't respond, not out of spite, but because some chapters don't need sequels. They need a clean ending. Now, I wake up before my alarm. I run a little. I write more. I laugh harder. Sometimes with Jade, sometimes with friends. Sometimes just with myself at something stupid on the radio. There's no big epiphany. No new love proposal. No revenge plot. Just a man who chose himself. A man who heard someone say, "God, I hope he doesn't propose," and realized she wasn't the one.